Hello everyone, welcome back to the third part of the chapter on the face of it of class 12 from Vistas. In the last video, we had stopped where Derry asked if he could visit the place again, that is Mr. Lamb's garden, and Mr. Lamb replied that he could and he would find company over there when Mr. Lamb is not present. And he added that Derry need not mind other people, means he should not hesitate in meeting other people and nobody will stop him from entering the garden. But Derry said that the other people would probably not like to enter this place after seeing him, and maybe they would look at his face, get scared, and run away. After that, what Mr. Lamb says, let's continue. They might, they might not. You have to take the risk. So would they. So Mr. Lamb replied that they might or they might not run, and that he had to take a chance on that. What Derry said, he said, no, you would. You might have me and lose all your friends because nobody wants to stay near me if they can help it. So Derry said that Mr. Lamb had to choose out of him and the other people as visitors because no one liked to remain with Derry. Mr. Lamb, I have not moved. So Mr. Lamb is not did not get emotional with this statement that you have to choose between me and your friends. Derry says no. Mr. Lamb, when I go down the street, the kids shout Lemmy Lamb, but they still come into the garden, into my house. It's a game. They are not afraid of me. Why should they be? Because I am not afraid of them. That's why not. Derry asked him, did you get your leg blown off in the war? Certainly. How will you climb on a ladder and get the crab apples down? Then. So after that discussion, that when Mr. Lamb said that he was there, means he is there at his place and did not run away on seeing Derry, and he added that when he went out on the street, kids teased him although they visited his garden and his house. It was like a game. They were not scared of him because he was not scared of them. Then Derry asked him that did his leg get injured in the war, and Mr. Lamb replied that it did so. So Derry again asked him that how would he climb up the ladder to pluck the apples. So he says, oh, there's a lot of things I have learned to do and plenty of time for it. Years I take it steady. So when he asked him that how will you climb up the ladder to pluck the apples, he replied that there were a lot of things that he had learned to do. And Derry says, you said I could help you, means in the beginning of the chapter, if you remember, at one place Mr. Lamb said that you can help me in plucking the apples. So Mr. Lamb again says, yes, if you want to, Derry, but my mother will want to know where I am. It's 3 miles home across the fields. I'm 14, but they still want to know where I am. So here, Derry, he wanted to help Mr. Lamb, but he said that his parents, they would be worrying. His mother, who will be waiting for him, and his home is 3 miles away across the fields, and he's 14 years of age, but still he is supposed to tell her mother where he is. And I mean, he wants to say that he is grown up, he is 14 years old, and still his parents, they want to know about his whereabout, where he is, at what time he will be coming back, like all our parents they do. And when we are in this age group, we think that we are grown up, and why these parents always worry. We know what is wrong and what is right, and we would be back home by the time that they should be at home. So the same way Derry was also thinking. Now Mr. Lamb Mr. Lamb says people worry means the people who loves you, they worry about you. They because it is not the worry, it is because they care for you. Mr. Derry says people fuss. Fuss means they unnecessarily they make fuss out of unnecessary things, or they create scenes and all. Mr. Lamb says go back and tell them means you go to your house and tell your parents. Derry, it's 3 miles. Mr. Lamb, it's a fine evening. You have got legs. Means weather is uh, fine, and obviously you have two legs. You have got you're physically fit, so you can run 3 miles. Once I got home, they would never let me come back. So Derry says that if he goes home, his parents they will not let him come back. Mr. Lamb, once you got home, you would never let yourself come back. So here Mr. Lamb says it is not the parents, it is you, that once you yourself, reaches home, you would not feel like coming back. Derry, you don't know. You don't know what I could do. So here, actually, Mr. Lamb is, I would say, like pumping him, or motivating him that yes, you can do it. The motivation, the confidence that he has lost, he is trying to bring that in him, and that is why he's saying, "Nahi, you cannot do. I know when you will go back home, you yourself won't come back to the garden." And Derry says, "No, no, you don't know what I can do." And on this, Mr. Lamb says, "No, only you know that, Derry, if I chose." Mr. Lamb, if you chose, I don't know everything, boy. I can't tell you what to do. So when he says that, okay, it is only you know that what you can do, and Derry started to say that if he chose, but was interrupted by Mr. Lamb. He said that Derry had to choose, and he could not tell him what to do. Means Mr. Lamb is not um, allowed to say anything. It is only Derry's wish what he wants to do. Derry, they tell me. Mr. Lamb, do you have to agree? I don't know what I want. I want something no one else has got or ever will have, something just mine like this garden. I don't know what it is. So Derry says they tell me. They here is for the parents. Means parents going to tell him what he should do and what he should not. Mr. Lamb says, do you have to agree? Means whatever they say, do you have to follow that? He says, I don't know what I want. I want. Then he says something that nobody has got, like this garden, and I don't know. Means he is still confused. He doesn't know what he wants from his life. Mr. Lamb, you could find out. He says, how? Means you can find out what you want. Mr. Lamb says, what, waiting, watching, listening, sitting here or going there. I'll have to see to the bees. So he says that you have to find out what you want in life, and Derry asked him how I could do that, and he says that you wait, you watch, you listen, you sit here, you go there. Yeah, I mean, this way you can find out what exactly you want from your for yourself from life. Then he says that I'll have to see the bees. Derry, uh, those other people who come here, do they talk to you, ask you things? Mr. Lamb says, yes, some do, some don't. I ask them, I like to learn. Then Derry asks, I don't believe in them. I don't think anybody ever comes. You are here all by yourself and miserable, and no one would know if you were alive or dead, and nobody cares. So Derry asked that did the other visitors talk to Mr. Lamb? Mr. Lamb, he replied that yes, some did while some did not. And Derry said that he did not believe that someone ever visited the place. Mr. Lamb lived alone all by himself. No one cared for him. Mr. Lamb says, "You think what you please," means it is your choice. Uh, he doesn't have control over his thoughts, so it is Derry's own thoughts. He can think the way he wants. Derry, all right, then tell me some of their names. So now he wants to know the names of Mr. Lamb's friends. Mr. Lamb says, "What are names? Tom, Dick, or Harry?" Getting up, I'm off down to the beach. So when he asked tell me the names of your friends, and he says that names are nothing, they could be like Tom, Dick, or Harry, and then he left to see the bees. Jerry, I think you are daft, crazy, silly, crazy, Mr. Lamb. That's a good excuse. So, when Derry said that perhaps Mr. Lamb was mentally challenged, Mr. Lamb said that that was a good excuse for Derry, but Derry said, "What for? You don't talk sense." Mr. Lamb, good excuse not to come back, and you have got a burnt up face, and that's other people's excuse. So when Derry asked him that I'm making excuse for what? So Mr. Lamb, he repeated that it was a good excuse for not returning to the garden. Derry's face was burned, which was other people's excuse for not seeing Derry. Derry says, "You are like the others. You like to say things like that. If you don't feel sorry for my face, you are frightened of it. And if you are not frightened, you think I'm ugly as a devil. I am a devil, don't you?" And he shouts. So, Derry, he calls Mr. Lamb like other people. He says that you are also like other people. If you are not sorry about my face, burnt face, then it means you are scared of me. And if not that, then you might be thinking that Derry is ugly as a devil. And he added that yes, he is devil, and he shouted. But Mr. Lamb, he did not give reply. He has gone to his bees. So, when actually Derry shouted, why he shouted? Because he wanted Mr. Lamb to say something about it, but Mr. Lamb did not reply. He had gone to see the bees. Derry quietly, "No, you don't. I like it here." Then he became calm and said that Mr. Lamb did not think him to be a devil. So he says, "No, you don't. You don't consider me to be a devil." And he liked to be in the garden. Then there's a pause. Derry gets up and shouts, "I'm going. But I'll come back. You see, you wait, I can run, I haven't got a tin leg, I'll be back." Derry runs off, silence, the sounds of the garden again. So Derry, he got up and shouted that he was leaving and that he would return to see him. He did not have a tin leg and he could run and he would be back soon. So Derry ran off. The place was silent with the sounds of the creatures of the garden. Mr. Lamb talking to himself. "There, my dears, that's you seen to. Ah, you know, we all know. I'll come back. They never do. Though not them, never do come back. The garden noises fade." So when he said that he would be back soon, and he ran up, Mr. Lamb, he talked to the bees, and they saw all that happened, and they all knew that no one ever returned to the garden. So he says, firstly he's talking to himself, and "there, my dears" means obviously he was with his bees, and he says that you have seen, you know, and we all know that people say that I'll come back, but they never do. They never come back, and none of them ever came back. Now the scene 2 at Jerry's house. "Mother, You think I don't know about him? You think I haven't heard things? In the second scene, it is at Derry's house, and Derry is talking to his mother. His mother, she asked, what did Derry think of her? And she had already heard about Mr. Lamb, and she says that you think that I do not know about him, Derry. You shouldn't believe all you hear. Mark this line, mark this statement. Do you remember who said this? Yes, Mr. Lamb. When Derry shared that incident where two ladies they whispered each other at the bus stop, and he said that they were saying that look at his face, only a mother could love such a face. And Mr. Lamb said, you hear all the things, and you should not, should shut your ears. So that statement, those words, it they left an impact on Derry, and now what he's saying to his mother, he's saying you shouldn't believe all you hear. Mother, been told, warned, we have not lived here 3 months, but I know what there is to know, and you are not to go back there. So she said that she had already heard about Mr. Lamb. Derry told her not to believe what others said, but she warned him that she knew what was required to be known about any person, and therefore asked him not to go back. Derry, he asked her the reason. What are you afraid of? What do you think he is? An old man with a tin leg, and he lives in a huge house without curtains and has a garden? And what and I want to be there and sit and listen to things. Listen and look. So he asked his mother reason for her fear, and he told her that Mr. Lamb was just an old man with a tin leg and had a big house without curtains and a garden. And he said that he wanted to go back and listen to things. Mother, listen to what? So his mother, she was curious to know what was it that he wanted to listen. And Derry says, bees singing, him talking. So he replied that he wanted to hear bees singing and wanted to listen to what Mr. Lamb said. Mother, and what's he got to say to you? Terry, things that matter, things nobody else has ever said, things I want to think about. So, mother, then you stay here and do your thinking. You are best off here. So, when mother asked him that what Mr. Lamb is going to tell you, he says the things that matter, that are of that important, and the things which nobody has ever said, means the motivating words, the building his confidence, and giving him confidence, saying that he is physically fit, only his face is burnt, otherwise he has his body is complete and he can do wonders with that. And he says that things I want to think about, means whatever Derry wanted to think about, wanted to see in the world, all those things Mr. Lamb discussed with him. But mother, she didn't find it suitable, and so she told him to stay at home and think about what he wanted to. Derry says, I hate it here. Mother, you can't help the things you say. I forgive you. It's bound to make you feel bad things and say them. I don't blame you. So Derry said that he hated to remain at home. His mother excused him for speaking wrong because he felt bad and so spoke that way. So she says that I forgive you because the situation which you are going through, because of that irritation, you behaved in such a bad way, but I still forgive you for that. I don't blame you. Derry, it's got nothing to do with my face and what I look like. I don't care about that, and it isn't important. See the positivity in his words. It's what I think and feel and what I want to see and find out and hear. And I'm going back there only to help him with crab apples, only to look at things and listen, but I'm going. So Jerry, he says that it had nothing to do with his face, because mother was thinking that because of the frustration of his face, he is behaving in that manner. He says the important things was how he thought and what he saw or heard. He announced that he would go back into the garden to help Mr. Lamb with the crab apples. Mother, she tried to stop him, saying, "You will stop here." But Derry says, oh no, because if I don't go back there, I'll never go anywhere in this world again. The door slams, Derry runs, panting, breathing heavily, and I want the world, I wanted the sound of his panting feet. So mother tried to stop him, but he ran away, shutting the door behind him and saying that he wants the world, he wanted to explore the world. If he doesn't show courage of going out today, he'll never be able to go back, or he will never be able to go back into the world which he wanted to see, which he wanted to uh, explore. Now the scene, it finishes over here. Now we have scene 3. It is Mr. Lamb's garden. Garden sounds, the noise of a branch shifting apples, thumping down, the branch shifting again. The third scene is in Mr. Lamb's garden, and there was the sound of branches. Mr. Lamb was talking to himself while he was plucking the apple. Suddenly, a harsh sound of the cracking wood was heard, and the ladder fell on the ground, and Mr. Lamb fell too. So, Mr. Lamb, he is on the ladder and he is saying, "Steady, that's got it, that's it." I hope you have got the experience of climbing on a tree and plucking fruits, and if there is a weak branch and you are like, okay, okay, hold it steady, I've got it, that's it. I mean, you talk to yourself, you give confidence to yourself. So Mr. Lamb was also doing the same thing, and he says, "That's it, more apples fall," when he shakes them, and again, "That's it." And a creak means a harsh sound of wood. A crash means I mean the sound of the things fallen. The ladder falls back, Mr. Lamb with it. A thump means when Mr. Lamb fell down on the ground, the sound, that is the thumping sound. The branch swishes means they make the hissing sound, means they are back to their place. Back creaks again, makes a sound. Then silence, and Derry opens the garden gate, still panting. So as I said, that there was a harsh sound of the cracking wood, and ladder fell on ground, and Mr. Lamb fell too. In the meanwhile, Derry, he opened the gate and he was still breathing rapidly. And then he declared to Mr. Lamb that he had returned. He says, you see, I came back. You said I wouldn't. And they said, but I came back. I wanted. So he said that, yes, Mr. Lamb, I have returned, and I mean, the family also said that you should not go, but still I have come back because I wanted. Then he stops, dead, silent. He stops dead. Dead means he is shocked. Silence is there. "Mr. Lamb, Mr. You have." He runs through the grass, stops, kneels. "Mr. Lamb, it's all right. You fell. I'm here. Mr. Lamb, it's all right." Silence. "I came back, Lemmy Lamb. I did come back." Derry begins to weep. So he looked at him and found him lying on the ground. He went near him and tried to talk to him, but no one replied. Derry kept on calling him by his name and suddenly started crying. He did so because he realized that Mr. Lamb was dead. So this chapter, it finishes here, and it is very painful, or very a sorry thing over here, that when he decided to face the world, live without fear of being disliked by anyone. I'm talking about Derry. and wants to live those moments again which he liked when he was in the company of Mr. Lamb. But when he returned to the garden, he found that man was no more. So, in the beginning, Derry was, let us talk about their character. Derry, he was scared of meeting people as he hates seeing their fear of him and facing their rejection. He was very sensitive. He was upset with parents' overprotectiveness and mother's revulsion with his face. Uh, he was defiant, rude, because he was too scared to talk to people. He was negative about everything and sees everything in a bad light, indulges in self pity over his face, hates sympathy, hates the world, and keeps away from it. Inner deep desire is to be accepted, which he hides under an abrasive exterior. But change in the end, after listening to Mr. Lamb, and he is ready to face the world and overcome obstacles to do so. He finds courage and strength to get what he wants. So, this is how this transformation is brought in him by Mr. Lamb. Mr. Lamb, who was very positive in his outlook, and he sees the beauty in everything, including weeds. And he doesn't let physical handicap prevent him from living life to the fullest. Very friendly, opened his doors to the world, sees the world is important and that people are important, strong, doesn't let people's negative comments hurt him. The way Derry, he was always hurt by the negative comments. He always lent his ears to every word that was spoken about him. But Mr. Lamb was completely opposite to him. He was practical. He knew one's life is in one's own hands, and he understood Derry's problem. So, this is all about this chapter, and in this, what we learned is this only that I mean, we should not go by appearances, and we should be, very understanding and compassionate to these people who are physically disabled, and should help them in living life the way we live, and should not let them feel alienated from the society, and make them a part of mainstream of life. So inconvenience should not be caused to them with our behavior, and treat them the way we treat other people. So with this we come to an end of this chapter. I hope you understood it, and if you have any problem you can ask me in the group. Thank you.